Welcome to The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lane. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and local advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lane, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. And we're into autumn. So autumn's, I think, 2 weeks away, maybe 1 week, 10 days, something like that. It's a few days, but we're late summer, early fall. And this is when gardening is super fun. It's the best time. In fact, Lisa and I, we don't travel sometimes just because it is so pleasant in northern Arizona. We like to get out of here in winter or summer. But now it's just beautiful gardening. Things are growing wild. They're just doing well. I did notice this week it's starting to get really bad. Not to start the show off with negatives, but you need to be aware. Some things to look at. So when Adam and Eve bit the apple, we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. We were given this one weed that is a bane of all human existence that makes gardening difficult. It's not tumbleweeds. It's not horehound, goat head, the one that you step on. It's bindweed. It's a wild morning glory. And it comes back by seed, and it shows up late summer through autumn. This is when it wants to crawl up. It just climbs, literally. The tendrils will just reach to the top of a 6-foot fence. They go out. There's got a cute little flower about the size of a quarter, something like that. Generally white to pinkish hues, generally white. It's called bindweed or wild morning glory. It is famous out in the valley area. So Chino Valley, Skull Valley, seems like valley where it's windy. The seed, what that flower does, it's a vine, fast growing annual vine. That means it comes back by seed only. So it climbs up to the top of a fence, and then it has this beautiful flower, and then it spews seed everywhere. I mean, one plant can infect an entire garden or a section of a yard. And so you really want to watch for this fast growing vine that has smaller leaves. I wish I had a picture of that. I should have that up there for the video folks out there, but just type in bindweed. It'll take over corn. It'll climb up. The reason they call it bindweed, it grows up and binds or wraps or suffocates corn, roses, just flowers. It can go up an embankment, and then it just reseeds like crazy. So if you see that, you really do want to get on that and don't let it take over. Don't let it reseed. And so I'm very actively going after my bindweed. I don't let it climb up things. Ground covers, it's a little less invasive. It's harder to find too, but once they start climbing, then they spew seed everywhere. So anything will take it out. Generally, I'm going to use what I'm using right now is Decimate. It's a competitor to Roundup. I don't like Roundup. In fact, we don't sell Roundup here at Waters Garden Center because it's a glyphosate. Glyphosates have been known to cause health issues. Well, I'm not going to sell customers things that cause them health issues. I want long-term relationships with my gardeners here in Prescott, Arizona. And plus, if anyone's going to get cancer from glyphosates, it's going to be me, the guy that's selling it for a lifetime. So I'm just not going to do that to myself. Decimate works actually better in the mountains of Arizona because it works when there's these big temperature swings back and forth. Decimate actually works when it's real cold, and it kills fast when it's real hot. And so the window at which you can use Decimate is much larger than glyphosates. So the Roundup products, the glyphosate type products, they're just a summer killer. So when it's cool out, or it dips real cool in the evening, it just shuts down. The plants, they just don't work. And so it's really just summer, and that's it. The other 3 seasons, spring, summer, fall, spring, what is that? Spring, let me go backwards. Winter, fall, it doesn't work. Or doesn't work as well. It can yellow up, and then the plant comes back with a vengeance. So if you've been up here for a while and you've used some of those Roundup type of products, you realize it's only good for the summer. Decimate's good for any time of year, and it works like within. You spray a bindweed dandelions, spurge right now. There's this really cute spreading ground cover. It's about a ½ inch off the ground and has this cute little leaves. No real flowers. It does have flowers, just they're so small you can't see them, but they just spread and they take over areas. All of these annual weeds like open ground. They like to grow where there's no competition. If you've got a flower bed full of wildflowers, bindweed and spurge and some of these others are not going to get in there. They want open, easy, all the sunlight to themselves. And so if you've got a healthy lawn, they're not going to get in there. If it's sparse and open, they are going to get in there. And so what to do? So spray it with Decimate. This is a liquid you spray it. You mix it up in a watering can. Highly effective. Per gallon, it's less expensive than Roundup, but much more effective at high altitude. So down in Phoenix, and it's so hot, it doesn't matter as much. Up here in God's country, you kind of want to use better products. And when you see a range, it says, mix 2 to 4 ounces per gallon. Always go with the higher range, no matter what it is, because of the altitude. It's because that evening slows things down. And so bump it up a little bit and you'll get more effectiveness. So the last thing I want to do is mix something up. I'll pay any amount to mix something and have it work every time. I'm going to do this myself. I want good quality plants. I want good quality products, and I want them to work the first time. I don't want to guess. I want them to work. And so that's what Decimate does. It just works. Now, for the long term, what do? So I've got certain areas where bindweed seems to grow more than other areas. Weeds in general grow more, and it's near my fence lines. So chain link fence, barbed wires, the pickets, they tend to grow there more because they can grow up and reach, they can climb and get out of that competition of the other plants. They just climb up to the top and go, I win, I'm above everyone else. Here's my seed, go and populate. And so they just spread like crazy. They're going to come back by seed every year. If you know that, this is really easy. You just put down weed and grass stopper where those areas are. So this is a granular product. It's a weed preventer. It keeps the seed from germinating. And so I'll sprinkle that in those areas where I've got a lot of, say, tumbleweed or horehound or spurge or bindweed. All these are summer annuals that come back by seed every year. The roots don't survive through the winter. They just reseed and they come back by seed. If you can prevent the seed from germinating, you get rid of the weeds. And so just like that, you're ahead of it. It takes a season or two, but I'll put down that weed and grass stopper, and pretty shortly, instead of an entire fence line full of bindweed, I've got 1 or 2. And then I get ahead of it and there's just none. So just watch for that. Don't let bindweed take over. At first, it looks cute, and then you can't get rid of this stuff. They're so prolific. Don't let them get in your vegetable garden, or they will wrap themselves up tomato plants, wrap themselves up corn, wrap themselves, suffocate eggplants. Just don't let them get in there. And then it's really hard to get them out of there because they produce so many seeds. So just kind of watch that one. Another one I noticed too, we've had so much rain. My Russian sage, it's like a drunken sailor stumbling around the gutters out there. I'm not putting sailors down, sorry. Drunken marine. No, drunken gardener. Those plants, they just grow up. They got tall, this blue spiky flower shrub. They got all of this water, and now they're just like flopping over. So this week, several plants like that. It's the very drought hardy plants tend to be that way. All I did was I took some weight off. I just cut it back a little bit, not back to the ground. I just gave it a haircut. The Russian sage were starting to look a little tall and mangy. Now with all the water, they just fell over with too much water. They're literally drunk. And so if I take some of that water weight off, it's like giving your plants liposuction. Just take a little bit off and they look a lot better. They're real perky and upright. Do that. To just give them a quick haircut. So I took my hedgers and just took a little weight off, and it made all the difference. I just fertilized them. They popped right up and they look fabulous. And so as soon as we dry out a little bit, they'll naturally just stay more upright and perky. But don't let those plants look waterlogged. So got a lot more in store for you this show. So Q&A section with Lisa Waters Lane coming up right after this.
Whether you're freshening up an existing landscape or starting with a blank slate, the Waters In-Store Garden Consultation is right for anyone.
If you don't know where to start, Waters Personal Shopper Service allows you to book one-on-one time with an expert without the crowds.
It's easy by phone or through our website. No lines, no waiting.
Purchase a $250 gift card from Waters, and it comes with one-on-one private gardener time.
You're going to love your yard again.
Waters Garden Center in Prescott or watersgardencenter.com.
You've been listening to The Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join him every week for timely garden advice right for the gardens. Visit Ken where he can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center.
Hi, Ken at Waters with our Monster Monsoon Sale, our only sale of the year.
Truckloads of fresh autumn maple, aspen, and spruce have just arrived, and we need room, so summer plants must go.
Perennials, trees, shrubs, even pottery must go, and it's worth your while with plant sales at 25, 45, even 65% off.
It's Waters' only sale of the year at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Where people who love great plants at sale prices, they love to shop.
Listening to Ken Lane, the Mountain Gardener. Green thumbs learned while working in the Family Garden Center. Now welcome back to the Mountain Gardener.
And we are back with Lisa Waters Lane. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are your neighbors talking about? We can learn from that. Gardening is kind of a shared experience, isn't it?
Very much so.
People kind of go back and forth. Neighbors are talking. What's that plant? Oh, how'd you do that? So and that's what we want to share in part here. So welcome to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you. Always good to be back.
Really? What do you like most about being in a small studio with your favorite husband?
Well, I really
Your
like it.
favorite husband.
I really like it when you're drinking coffee.
Sometimes you just need a hit of espresso.
Nothing like that coffee smell to wake you up. But yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sure. No problem.
So now,
Yes.
garden questions. Should we just jump
Okay.
right in and see where it takes us?
Well, sure. Why not? Lots of questions out there. Our first one this week is from Leslie in Prescott Valley. She bought a Japanese maple and ended up putting it in a spot where it really just got too much sun.
Yeah, and wind out there.
And
Prescott Valley's wind and sun.
So she wants to know, she needs to move it, obviously. Can she do it now or should she wait until it's more dormant?
Yeah, so, okay, here's what the book says. Book says wait till it's fully dormant so the sap is not flowing in the plant because you greatly reduce the transplant risk. Okay, that's January, February, March. So it'll lose its leaves here in November, typically first part of December. Yeah, but the sap is still kind of flowing around, and so you want it to have some sustained cold. So get past the new year, Leslie, and then move it. Before you move it, come in and get one of our planting guides. It'll show you how big of the hole should be, what mulch, food, root and grow, what you need. We've got some transplant shock stuff, some juice in a bottle. It's called Root and Grow. It's magic for transplant shock. It'll be a game changer. Japanese maples are expensive plants because they're slower growing. So you do want to hold off if you can. So a true gardener to go, I can do it now if I want to. You could, but the risk goes up like 8-fold as far as risk goes. If you could just wait just a few more months because we're almost there. You can move it. We're just wherever you want in the yard, but Japanese maples are not going to like to have more than 6 hours of sun, and they don't want to be in the wind. So move it to that northeast side of your gardens, under the patios, the front entrance by your front door, in that little corner area. That's where Japanese maples love to grow. Out in the yard, they look like Leslie's tree.
Right.
So you want to move it.
Yeah, so it's probably going to continue to look pretty rough, and those leaves are going to look ugly, but the tree itself will live and will be fine. So you're good holding off to transplant it.
I'm just amazed she got it to Leslie. That's a he or a she name. I'm not sure which one, right? I was just assuming. I'm amazed it lives at that 100 degree. Was that like a month ago? July or first part of August, it was so hot.
Yeah.
If it survived, you've got a survivor. Just kind of move it this winter and it will thrive. You'll have a thriver at that point, not just a survivor.
A thriver. Isn't there a song?
Yeah.
Or I Will Survive. Isn't that? Never mind.
Yeah, please don't go down that path.
All right.
Sticks.
No, I Will Survive. Isn't it Aretha Franklin or
Okay.
who's the other one that gets? Never mind. I'm sure somebody
This
will
is
let
not a
us
pop
know.
culture. This is a garden show, not a pop culture.
Yeah, we're not
history of the '60s pop culture
That's
show.
true. We're not good pop culture. Okay, so Tony would like to know, is another trimming question. When's the best time to trim back a desert willow? And can I take it from a multi-trunk and make it into a single trunk?
Got that one this week too.
Really?
So now desert willows, that is a native plant that grows out towards Dewey, Humboldt, down towards Kirkland, Skull Valley, kind of the whole ridge lines. There's just a lot of them. They're beautiful. It's a tree that's up about high teens, 20 feet, no higher. And then it's got lots of these purpley to pink flowers all over it. Hummingbirds love it. And so it's a true native. It grows wild as a multi-stemmed. To train it into a single stem, just a trunk coming up, very doable. It's just going to take a couple of years to get it to do that. You just take the main trunk that looks the straightest for you, trim everything else off, and then fertilize. Get that thing to grow like crazy for you. So his question was, can I grow it in? What was the question? I lost track.
Short-term memory loss. Can he trim now?
Oh, no, don't do that.
Okay.
Stop. Don't trim now. Now what? Okay, so if you're major trimming, like I'm going to turn it into a tree, that's done in January, February, March. Again, the sap is flowing. It's not flowing. There's no bugs out to go after the cuts. It's just a lot of reasons why you want to wait in midwinter. So do your major pruning then. With that being said, the book says you can prune up to 10% of the foliage mass whenever you want. So just give it a haircut, a major branch, something's poking in the eye, dinging in the head, cut that thing off. But the major pruning, I would wait till that sap is not flowing and the bugs are not out. Disease, pestilence, everything's growing right now. If you have an open wound, you're more likely to have something happen. So
be patient. All right. So Carla just moved into a new home in the Prescott area. She has the perfect spot for a perennial garden. She wants to know, is it too late to be planting perennials? And then part two of the question is, what about putting out wildflower seed?
Oh, sure. So it is very much an ideal time to start a wildflower, not so much a wildflower, a flower garden. So, and you're into your summer and autumn flowers. They're the biggest ones of them all, the showiest of them all. Yeah. And so you could easily get your soil ready, start planting some things and enjoy the perennial flowers. And we've got quite a few annual flowers that came in. So pansies are here, Johnny jump ups, kales, all these things that will look good for the next 6 months. Even in the winter, it will look great. So yeah, absolutely. It is the wrong time to start wildflowers. The time to start wildflowers by seed, we've got 4 different mixes that we make here at the garden center. I guess you could cheat it. We could show her how to start it now. If you really wanted to, we could show you how to cheat. But ideally, wildflowers are started December, January, February, that midwinter, very early spring. You want those out there while the snow can still hit them. They need that freeze thaw that happens. So come see us. We can give you the inside scoop. Flower gardeners, just mentioned a survey that we had. 81% of all homeowners do some sort of flower gardening.
Cool.
So it's the number one thing that people do. It's even more than tomatoes or vegetables or fruit trees or roses. I guess roses count as flowers, don't they?
Not to Rosarian.
They did not break it down for you. You said flowers. Homeowners that garden with flowers. So you should have flowers. Yeah. Just do the
We
fall.
actually have a really nice selection of the late summer, fall perennials right now. some beautiful echinaceas. I love the colors they're coming out with.
The rudbeckias
are beautiful. Echinacea are in.
Anything with a beckia. Ecca or Becky.
Chrysanthemums. So a lot of those plants she could easily get in now and then leave some space for the spring and summer ones.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, is there room for one more? Or you have one more question?
Usually no.
1 more minute.
Because we rarely get through 3 questions. So
I guess I'm just on a mission to kind of finish things out.
What's on your mind, Ken Lane? What would you like to talk about?
I noticed that our alyssum has got some mildew on it.
Really?
So I ripped those things out. Trash day was yesterday.
Oh.
So I ripped those things out of our container pots because they were getting this white mildewy. It's all this rain, humidity stuff. So ripped those things out. And I noticed that you just had pansies come in. I want to get those in and get them filling in for our containers right away. And I think that's advice we can give to quite a few folks is open up those gardens so you can receive some of these fall and winter bloomers. It's unique for here. So we can grow 4 seasons. We have 4 seasons, but it's the mildest 4 seasons you can possibly have. Take advantage of it. Your neighbors from Connecticut, where you came from, they'll be jealous that you've got flowers and they're buried in snow. Ken and Lisa Lane, the Mountain Gardeners. Be back after this. If new neighbors are encroaching on your privacy, we have just the solution.
At Waters, we have an entire section of thick, bold plants dedicated to privacy.
Fall is a time to plant a new privacy hedge, and we're here as advisors.
Take a quick measurement and snap a picture before you come visit, and you'll quickly be living in privacy once again.
Plus, our team of experts know how to plant to increase plant growth next spring. We'll show you how.
Waters Garden Center. We know privacy in your backyard. You're listening to Ken Lane, a.k.a. the Mountain Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Garden Center. Listen each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to mountain gardens.
If you enjoy this show and would like to hear more, please subscribe to The Mountain Gardener wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you'd like even more garden tips, tricks, and helpful advice, please check out my website at watersgardencenter.com for classes, videos, and more. Or my online garden center at top10plants.com. Throughout the week, Lisa and I can be found here at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Waters Garden Companion plants for August are radio red salvias, butterfly bush, and trumpeting vine.
Large clusters of red and orange flowers create a dramatic show all season long with Waters trumpet vine.
This vigorous vine thrives in heat and blooms profusely with neglect.
Quickly covers large areas as a ground cover, spilling over retaining walls, screening a fence, or cloaking arbors.
Guaranteed to attract more hummingbirds and only found at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
You've been listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Join the conversation every week as he answers timely garden questions. Email Ken a question directly from your phone to his desktop through the web at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Now welcome back your host, Ken Lane.
So the Garden Center magazine, that's our industry magazine, did a very large survey nationally of homeowners. And I thought I'd share, it's very insightful, very interesting, what homeowners like or hate, love or hate about gardening. And so thousands of people were surveyed all over the country, including Arizona. The number one place for gardening, most garden researches online came from Spokane, Washington. So those folks, Spokane's actually very similar to the mountains of Arizona. So they have a definite rainy season. It's very dry. It's not like Seattle. It's on the east side of Washington. And so they're very similar to us. Other places similar. Richmond, Virginia, very same zone as Prescott, Arizona, at least. Boise, Idaho, Chesapeake Bay, Virginia. Where else? Norfolk, Virginia. Virginians are wanting to figure out how to gardening. A lot of places where there's new folks coming in. Reno, Nevada. That'd be actually more like Flagstaff, but very much a 4-season ski town, basically. And so they surveyed, and men or women gardening. Of course, you'd think women garden more, and that's true. 88% of homeowner women garden. But what's surprising, men are right there. 85% of men who own a house, properties, they're gardening some way with plants. So indoors, outdoors, they're playing with the plants. And so 87% said they've overwatered or underwatered plants at some point. I think that's just called gardening. If you make a mistake, I've even done that this year. I've been gardening for decades. It's just part of the game. 60%, they just flat out forgot to water. They went off and just traveled or took out in the RV and they just bought it and they planted it and totally forgot to water it. And then 52% blame their lack of knowledge for their garden problems. And so that's why we have the radio show. That's why I do a weekly garden column. We do a lot of YouTube channels, podcasts. We've got all this stuff to help you be a better gardener. So gardening is all about, not about successes. It's about not making the mistakes. So you're learning. You learn gardening by making mistakes. If you can use someone else's knowledge, their mistakes, to keep you from doing the same thing, that's the golden. That's why you tune into radio shows like The Mountain Gardener. So here we go. 89% were rural gardeners. Suburbia, let's see, was 86% location of gardeners. 89% doesn't add up to 100. Never mind, I won't do that. So cursed plant killers. Gen Z, the younger groups, so this is 20-somethings, 24% say they are cursed. They just are cursed at killing plants. I think part of that's just experience too. As you get a little bit older, so millennials, 30-somethings, 15% say they are plant killers. 15% of Gen X, 40-somethings, and then your boomers, 60 plus, 11%. So as you try or do gardening, as you tune in, as you read more, as you research, or you just hang out with other gardeners, you just get better. And so you blame yourself less. So I would say if you think you're a cursed plant killer, well, just try it again. Sometimes you get better with it. And so number one, plants or gardening that homeowners do, flower gardening. 82% of homeowners garden with some sort of flowers, indoors or outdoors, some way. A pot of flowers or full flower beds. 69% are vegetable growers. Tomatoes, number one selling. We look at tomatoes as the gateway drug to gardening. So that and houseplants. You get them just started. Once they have a success and that tomato just melts in their mouth, they think, tomatoes, that's just the taste of summer. It just, there's nothing like it. Get them doing that. Then they'll jump over to cucumbers and peppers and eggplants and all the other things. So houseplants, once you start them indoors, then you go to a patio. Once you have success in a patio, then you go to the front decks and you go to the outdoors. It just spreads. It's like infectious. 51% of homeowners do some sort of herb gardening. And 34%, I thought this was surprising. It's higher than I thought. Fruits, 34% of homeowners, that's one in, that's three, I guess, 3.4 in 10, 34%, do some sort of fruit. It might be apples or pears or cherries or grapes and figs and pomegranates, but 34% want to grow something out there that they can harvest and use in the kitchen or enjoy in the back patio. Peaches have been I'm juicing peaches. I'm eating peaches. We had a grilled peaches. They're so good. A little freshly seasoned. We've got a citrus salt with some olive oil on the grill for just a few minutes. And boy, they just melt in your mouth. So healthy for you. Anyway, this is Garden Center Magazine's America's Gardening Hits and Misses. If you want to take a look at that, that's bit.ly/gardening.stats. If you want to take a look at that yourself. Have more coming in for you in just a moment. Lisa Waterslane coming back with her garden segment right after this. If new neighbors are encroaching on your privacy,
we have just the solution.
At Waters, we have an entire section of thick, bold plants dedicated to privacy.
Fall is a time to plant a new privacy hedge, and we're here as advisors.
Take a quick measurement and snap a picture before you come visit, and you'll quickly be living in privacy once again.
Plus, our team of experts know how to plant to increase plant growth next spring. We'll show you how.
Waters Garden Center. We know privacy in your backyard. The Mountain Gardener, your source for timely garden advice right for higher elevations. Guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Waters garden companion plants for August are radio red salvias, trumpeting vine, and butterfly bush.
Monarch and swallowtail butterflies flock to Waters butterfly bush with spectacular 8-inch flowers filling the yard with fragrance and beauty.
Heat, drought, wind only make this shrub bloom more. Tough enough to grow in clay, but hardy enough to shine in containers.
With so many colors to choose, every yard should have at least 2.
You'll only find impressive butterfly bush at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening is very rewarding, with a few Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts sure to turn your thumbs even greener. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And we are back in the studio with Lisa Waters Lane. She comes each week and just shares her garden knowledge, plethora of garden knowledge. I just had to use that word today. So she's coming in to just share. I see you've got all kinds of, it looks like the first crop of pansies came in. They're spectacular.
I know.
Are those mammoth pansies?
Well, okay, we're talking about these already, huh?
I think before we go there, because I really want to do a shout out for next weekend.
Yes.
So Grapes for Good. So each quarter we give the garden center away to a nonprofit. And so the fall, Prescott Frontier Rotary uses for the last 17 years the garden center to raise money for the schools locally. So they're coming in September 17th.
Right.
It's after hours, 5 to 8 o'clock. It's the best garden party
it
you
is
could ever want. I mean,
it is a hoot. It's a lot of fun. You see your friends from your communities. You see friends from all over the town and Prescott Valley and Chino Valley. And
yeah.
So it's fun.
So come join us. Tickets are $80. Bring a friend, bring neighbors, all the money. The sponsors have covered all the costs. So Barry with El Gato Azul is going to do all the cooking. He's pairing the wines with Lloyd's Liquor downtown. He's got desserts kind of figured out. It should be a fun time. Bring neighbors and friends. You can get tickets at PrescottFrontierRotary.com. So they've got a button right there. You just buy a ticket and there you go. It's all digital kind of stuff.
Oh, cool. So they print it off and bring their ticket with them, or is it on your phone?
All of the above.
Oh,
Print.
cool.
Just they're pretty sophisticated, or then they've got your name and number right there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. QR codes, all this. Boy, they're very sophisticated.
Fancy.
Who'd ever figure? So Prescott Frontier Rotary. You can just Google that and it'll pop right out. They're a major Rotary club here in town. They do a lot of good work with high schools, leadership programs, exchange students from other countries. They just do a lot of good.
Very worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I would say, if you've not been in the garden center in the early evening, it is a very magical place because the smells from all the flowers just get stronger, and it's just a very beautiful, magical place in the evening.
The garden center the comes alive. So hummingbirds, butterflies, they all come out that time of the day. So
they do.
Anyway. Now we can talk flowers. How about that?
Now we can talk flowers. So we just did get our first crop of pansies. These are what'd you call them? You're right. Mammoth.
Elephant. Mammoth.
Woolly mammoth pansies. They're a mix. They're a beautiful mix. They're a gallon size. We had them grown specifically for us from our growers. So really cool. Yes, you can put them in now. And yes, they will go through the winter into the spring, and they'll keep growing until May almost.
in the
Depending on where
shade,
they're at,
right
yeah.
through. I mean, they
Mhm.
might come back. We don't tell them they'll go through summer. We just want you to plant geraniums or marigolds. But sometimes they will. They don't like the heat.
Mhm.
They love
Right.
the cold.
Right. And yes, they're happy with snow on them. They don't mind it. So it's a wonderful little plant to get going in your containers or your flower beds. And so you can enjoy it for most of the winter. We
Yeah.
got lots of time left to enjoy it.
Yeah, God, they smell good. They smell like pansies dipped in coffee.
Yay. So our
So-
first crop is coffee. Our first crop of those is in. And then I wanted to bring in an aster. I kind of showed one last week, but it wasn't in full bloom. So I wanted to
for
bring an
sure.
aster in this week that is in full bloom. This is kind of a dark pink one. It is spectacular. It's gorgeous. And the funny, I was hiking this morning. I was looking around, and there's lots of little native aster is coming up, and it's more of a purple one.
Yeah.
But it's so cute. It's popping up on all the little trails, and it's a good wildflower.
True native, and it will actually reseed and spread across the yard. Plant at the top side of a hill, it'll spill down. So true native. So
Yeah.
butterflies love it. Full sun. Take a blow dryer to it, curse at asters, and they still bloom like crazy.
They do. And we have, I think, 4 different varieties in right at the moment. So definitely a good time to come pick some out. We encourage you to do that. Oh, I'll put it over here.
Okay.
So we also got some other. So last week we were kind of talking about things that give you fall color, because we're big into that 4-season yard. And that fall color is really important. And we got a truck in, and it had some more of the fall color stuff on it. So I thought I would shrubs.
Okay, even better. Burning bush.
So yes, we got. Well, let me tell you.
Oh, there we go.
So we got some burning bush in. Now this is the euonymus variety of the burning bush. It's the compacta. And it's the one that's green leaf now, but pretty soon here it's going to start turning that red color. And it's just a bright, bright red one. So we've got that one in. We also have firepower Nandina. Now, most people are used to the Nandina or heavenly bamboo.
The boring one?
The boring one. This one is they're about 30 by 30. So it is still evergreen. So it's green right now, but pretty soon it's going to start turning that red, orangey red color.
Yeah.
And it's probably out of all the Nandinas gives you the most fall color. And they'll stay that color until they hit their new growth next spring.
So that one's about hip high, something like that.
It's about 30 by 30.
30 inches.
Yeah.
30 feet.
I guess it depends how tall you are.
Yeah.
30 inches by
That's
30
just
inches.
Hip high or so. If you're 6 foot or 5 foot 8.5 inches, that's hip high.
That's true.
Oh, I guess it depends on how long your legs are. I don't know.
See, it's all relative. We got some chokeberry in. So chokeberry is aronia. So it is another one that's green, right? Well, it's another kind of multi-season plant because it'll put on a white flower in the spring. It'll put on its green leaves. Then it does a berry. So we got 2 different ones in. We got one that gets about 6 by 6. It's the brilliantissima.
There's a
Try
name
that.
for you. Say that 10 times fast. 10 times slow.
I know. But there again, just beautiful red foliage, and you get the berries on it.
Chokeberry is one of those that is not appreciated. It's not talked about enough. I should write an article on those.
Should.
They're so robust here. They're kind of unique to this Southwest area. So this is the time to plant them too.
Definitely.
Because they look so good. If you're into attracting birds, you just want native, drought hardy, easy to grow shrubs. Chokeberry.
Yeah. So we've got the brilliantissima, which is 6 by 6. And then they got a new one they've called mellowscape.
Mellowscape.
So it's
yellow.
smaller, gets about 20 by 20. Okay. But there again, you get the white flowers, you get the berries, and then you get that beautiful fall color on there as well.
Knee high or head high?
Yep.
Pick.
Definitely got to check those out. And then we got some more barberry in. Now, I love barberry. I love the colors of the barberry because you just such unique, bright colors. We got orange rocket in, which is that taller, narrower one. It definitely has that orangey-ish color, orangey red color to it. Not year round, but throughout the season.
Yeah.
Goes dormant in the wintertime. We got the lavender nugget, which is kind of I think it's about a 2x2, real dark burgundy one. And then we got golden ruby, which is another smaller one, but it's really pretty because it has the golden colors and the red colors in it.
I like barberry. Anything with a barb on it. So barberry has little tiny thorns.
Mm-hmm.
You know it's going to be good for Arizona. So It takes the sun, it takes the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Things don't eat on it. It's just a good, robust plant, and they're not evergreen.
Right.
But the texture on them is so interesting that they look really interesting in the winter, and they look interesting in the spring.
That's
when
true.
they flower, they're a pollinator. In the summer, they've got that bright color.
Yeah.
They just have a lot going on for them. And we grow barberry better than anyone else in the country because it likes the dry and the sun.
Right.
So it's a perfect plant for here.
It is. It is. It looks beautiful in the fall landscapes as well. So some of the other stuff we got in that we've been waiting for, I'll do it real quick. We got some new Vanderwolf pines in 5 and 10 gallon. They look real pretty. One of my favorite pines.
It's a great soft pine.
It is. We got some new Oregon green pines in. This is a really nice, manageable size that you can get into your yard. And we also got some new Austrian pines in. And we have more coming.
More coming. That's good. So the fall crops are coming. So
they are.
Lisa, thank you for being here. Ken and Lisa Lane, the Mountain Gardeners. Be back after this.
Whether you're freshening up an existing landscape or starting with a blank slate, the Waters In-Store Garden Consultation is right for anyone.
If you don't know where to start, Waters' personal shopper service allows you to book one-on-one time with an expert without the crowds.
It's easy by phone or through our website. No lines, no waiting.
Purchase a $250 gift card from Waters, and it comes with one-on-one private gardener time.
You're going to love your yard again.
Waters Garden Center in Prescott or watersgardencenter.com.
Look for more tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts through Ken's website. Podcast the show, read his weekly garden column, or follow him on Facebook and Instagram at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Hi, Lisa here with the plants of the week and our lavender chiffon hibiscus.
This hardy variety is one of the longest blooming, most prolific shrubs, showing off massive 4-inch lavender flowers all summer long.
This stately bush likes to show off, and all for $39.
But wait, there's more. These pretty shrubs come back again next year with even more stunning beauty.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love stunning hibiscus, they love to shop. Welcome to the Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane. Gardening in the mountains is different. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now for better advice that works locally, welcome your host, Ken Lane.
So the fall flowers are arriving, the first big crop of mums, asters, pansies, phlox, all those autumn flowers. There's a whole season for you folks from the more tropical areas, Southern California, Phoenix, Tucson, Palm Springs, those areas. You're not used to autumn. Here, it's a bright, showy, it's almost like a decoration season. And so it's kind of fun. Some of your summer plants, spring plants especially, have faded. They're like, oh, they're looking rangy and mangy and old. I'm starting to pull those things out. If they had mildew or any kind of bug issues, I'm pulling those things out. I'm looking to make holes in my flower beds so that I can introduce some pansies. I can introduce mums and asters, all these autumn colors. They're brighter and they're bigger, they're showier than some of your spring plants. They're big and bold. A mum is spectacular. And here in the mountains of Arizona, they're a true perennial. So back in the East Coast, Midwest, mums are sold in the fall like an annual. You use them for the season, you have 3-4 months, and then you throw them away. You just like a poinsettia or some of these other plants. It's an ornament that you keep out there that's blooming, and then you're getting rid of them because they don't come back very well, at least. Here they do. And then in Phoenix, some of the other areas, the hotter areas, the deserts, They're treated like an annual. You enjoy them for the fall season, and then you throw them away because they're not going to take that summer heat. But right here at the elevation of the mountains of Arizona, we're in a sweet spot. Here they do come back. They are perennial. And so there's really two kinds of mums you're going to find in the marketplace. More the Phoenix growers, those are greenhouse grown mums. So if you're at Trader Joe's or the grocery store, these are floral grade types of mums. They're big, they're showy, they're nice, they're bright colors. Sometimes they're spray painted, they get kind of weird with it. But for gardeners, folks tuned into this show, you don't want those. You want a perennial, truly outdoor grown mum. So it's used to the sun, it's used to our environment, the water. It's grown outdoors for outdoors. So they're a perennial mum. So your garden centers are going to grow, I don't know about box stores because they got supply chains all over the place, but your local mom and pop type of garden center or nursery in your neighborhood, they're going to have a perennial mum. These are going to bloom very similarly, lots and lots of colors to choose from. Of course, orange, yellow, reds, those are the most popular because they're kind of colors of fall. They kind of scream, pumpkins and lattes out there. And so, but there's so many others, purples and all kinds of colors. And so they're a perennial mum. And so we've been growing these since last spring. We cut them back. They were going to bloom. We pinched off all of the flowers back in summer. Now they're reflushing. So they're even fuller than they were. And now we get them to bloom on the autumn cycle. So when you plant them out in the yard, so if let's say you enjoy them by the front door through Halloween, now you're going to go put it out in the gardens out there. What I find is my chrysanthemums or mums, they almost bloom twice at least at this Central Highlands area. So this Sedona, Camp Verde, Cottonwood, Jerome, Prescott Valley, Chino, of course, and then all the way on the other side, Kirkland's, Hillside, the Skull Valley, these areas, here they bloom twice. What they'll do is they'll flush and then they'll bloom like late summer. Then they'll get done blooming and then they flush another set of growth. They almost double down. They have another extended growth and they'll bloom a second time. Now, if you want to force them to bloom all at once in the fall, you just simply shear off those buds of late summer. That'll force them to reset, start blooming, setting new flower buds, and they'll bloom again on this natural autumn cycle. That's what we've done with our mums here at the garden center. We pruned off that summer flower so that we could have them for this showy fall autumn. For my personal ones at my house, I just let them bloom twice. They aren't quite as showy either time, but I'd rather have a mum bloom 2 times for me than to have just really over the top in the fall. I'll buy another gallon mum for $10, whatever. Have another one at the front door. So those are mums. There's greenhouse grown and there's outdoor, just out in basically on landscape fabric outdoors. So they're exposed. So the flowers are going to be hardier than a greenhouse grown. As soon as you try to transplant that greenhouse grown mum, let's say from the grocery store, it's almost not worth the energy. They'll never live up to your expectations in the gardens. You want a garden mum for the garden, not a greenhouse grown floral mum for the garden. They just don't work. I know it's confusing, but anyway, there's 2 places they're grown and it tricks people. And then they aren't successful. And they go, no, I'm not a very good gardener. Well, that's because you were sold the wrong thing. So many times you're sold, it's not you, it's them. They sold you the wrong plant. And so you wanted it to keep going for years to come. Mums should grow 10 years or more, coming back every year, a true perennial from the roots. Asters are also available. Now, pansies just came in. So the first crop of pansies. This is one that I find newbies tend to wait too long. And so pansies, you want to get in the ground early. And so you want to get them before you'll be tempted to leave them till November. I'll wait till all my summer plants are killed by the frost. Then I'll put pansies in. Well, that's fine. Pansies will do great. They'll grow like that, but they won't be thick and full right through winter. So here at this elevation, they will bloom literally right through winter. They're amazing little plants, and it's unique. So the Midwest, they get cold and they freeze and then they die. In the summer areas, let's say Phoenix, they plant them real late and then they burn out for you really quick. They just don't come back. They don't keep going. Here, it's one of the few plants that just are so robust. They've got so much antifreeze in them that they'll actually keep growing, keep blooming for you. I mean, January, they've got flowers on them. They're just amazing. The secret is you want to get them rooted and full. So by Thanksgiving, whenever that real cold just settles in, the plants kind of freeze frame. They'll stay, whatever the size that is, that's how big they're going to stay through Valentine's, but mid-February somewhere. And so you kind of want to get them in the ground so they have time to plump up, get full, set those flowers on them. Whereas if you waited another month and a half till Halloween or whatever, so the frost is coming, the ground is starting to cool off, and they'll still grow, but not as quickly as they will right now. So I'm looking for holes in my containers. I want pansies or those winter blooming, Johnny jump ups, violas. There's a whole series of winter blooming flowers. I want to have some of those closer to the house so that in the winter, it's January, it's snowing outside, I can sip my tea, look outdoors and go, yeah, I planned that one right. Look at my pansies. They're beautiful out there, blooming in the snow. Can you believe those guys? I just love those winter blooming flowers. I want some things closer so that I can enjoy that. It's just that heart of a gardener is something to look forward to. And again, it's all about putting them in early. Put them in so they have time to root out, time to fill in and load up with flowers. I find that folks wait too long to plant those flowers. And so they're waiting until the rest of their gardens are dead. Then they replace them. Now that's too late for them to get from, 6-pack size up to, I want them to look like a mum size. So pansies, get them in early. The fall colored flowers are coming in. Vegetables are coming in. So that's lettuce, spinach, artichokes, broccoli, cauliflower, all those leafy type of, you put those in same way, early. If a tomato stops producing fruit, get that thing out of there, put the broccoli or the cauliflower in. So you got we call it square foot gardening. So you're just trying to get that rotation in there. So don't at this time of year, be impatient with plants that don't fertilize them and wait for them to bloom again. Just rip them out of there, put some winter color in. It'll be a game changer for the next 6 months in your gardens. Got more for you right after this.
Whether you're freshening up an existing landscape or starting with a blank slate, the Waters In-Store Garden Consultation is right for anyone.
If you don't know where to start, Waters' personal shopper service allows you to book one-on-one time with an expert without the crowds.
It's easy by phone or through our website. No lines, no waiting.
Purchase a $250 gift card from Waters, and it comes with one-on-one private gardener time.
You're going to love your yard again.
Waters Garden Center in Prescott or watersgardencenter.com.
You're listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, the owner of Waters Garden Center. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center, located in Prescott at 1815 Iron Springs Road. Thanks for tuning in to The Mountain Gardener.
Hi, Waters with the plants of the week and our gold flame honeysuckle.
Wonderfully fragrant. These blooms are in full color right now and will stay that way until the first frost of October.
These pink and gold blooms are irresistible to hummingbirds and butterflies alike.
Excellent as a quick ground cover, but robust enough to climb vertical structures and fences, all for under $37.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love blooming vines, they love to shop.
You've tuned in to The Mountain Gardener with local garden expert Ken Lane. Join him each week as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
Now, I love pine trees, ponderosas, Austrian pines, any kind of pine, Scotch pine, pinyon pines, Vanderwolfs, or white pines. They are just they're magical. They got a nice straight trunk. The branching pattern is just this layered branch. The wind going through a pine forest is just, it's magical. It just adds life to the landscape. So I like them. They're evergreen, so they can block things out or they can frame vistas. You put them on either side. And, whoop, look at this. Look at the mountain, Granite Mountain right there. So there's a lot of going on for them. The one negative, it's this time of year, I've got several of very large, ancient ponderosas. They're beautiful. They're majestic. There's no other way. If I were to lose those, I could probably file an insurance claim. They're so valuable. And so the negative, though, right now, the pine cones are coming off. Oh, they're forever dropping pine cones. So they had a little bit of pollen in the spring. Then they've been formed. They've the new growth. You can hear the wind whispering through this gentle, sunlit gardens. They're magical. And so I've treated them to keep them healthy. I fertilize them, give them some plant drench kind of stuff, keep the bugs out of them. I've really taken care of them. Well, now they're so healthy. They want to reproduce. So they're throwing pine cones out everywhere because they're just so happy. So every couple of weeks, pick the pine cones up and it's all good. So you just rake them or whatever. It's just one thing I notice. Every plant has their positive and every plant has a drawback. They're probably just like people. People some of them are just a delight, but they got their issues, and others have the other issues and different delights. The plants are the same way. And so I did notice too, I was doing some research. So I'm trying to up my game on the podcast. We're finding more and more folks are listening on the go. And so I was doing some analyzing the data behind the podcast. So they track everything. It's amazing. Anything digital, they can track everything. And so it was interesting. The number one way people listen to at least I call it the top 10 gardener. That's our name of our podcast. If you want to take a look, you can go to watersgardencenter.com. At the very top of the front page, there's a podcast button. Just hit that. It takes you right there. So follow it, subscribe it, see what it's like. But the number one way people listen to the Mountain Garden, this radio show in podcast form, is by smart speaker. I have not seen that before. Last year was all about phones. So people take it with their phone and they listen to it through their buds, through their ears, whatever their devices, and they go garden out in the yard or they're walking the neighborhoods. They were listening to it by phone. Now it's by smart speaker. I think they just have a Bluetooth thing out there while they're gardening and they're listening to it on the patio, the deck, in the living room, wherever. Just at 51%. 34% are now by phone, and then the rest are PC, laptop, mobile, other devices. That's 51 plus 34. That's like most everyone is. They're walking about doing their thing. It's just super interesting. I did not see that coming. It's just very interesting. It's called the Top 10 Gardener. If you're going to Apple or Google or wherever you get your garden advice, I break out the segments. They're short 10-minute segments, local, timely about what to do now. And so you can download and subscribe that to wherever you get your favorite, or go to watersgardencenter.com. Just hit the button at the top, the YouTube channel. So classes, I'm trying to do more of this in YouTube video form. So you can see, I can actually show things off through our YouTube channel. The YouTube button is right there on the home screen. So, but mainly, throughout the week, Lisa and I camp out here at Waters Garden Center. We just love talking to, my therapy is talking gardening with other gardeners. It's just fun.
If new neighbors are encroaching on your privacy, we have just the solution.
At Waters, we have an entire section of thick, bold plants dedicated to privacy.
Fall is a time to plant a new privacy hedge, and we're here as advisors.
Take a quick measurement and snap a picture before you come visit, and you'll quickly be living in privacy once again.
Plus, our team of experts know how to plant to increase plant growth next spring. We'll show you how.
Waters Garden Center. We know privacy in your backyard. If you want a more fruitful garden, increase success in your landscape that just feels better, then tune in every week to The Mountain Gardener. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.
If you enjoy this show and would like to hear more, please subscribe to The Mountain Gardener, wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you'd like even more garden tips, tricks, and helpful advice, please check out my website at watersgardencenter.com for classes, videos, and more, or my online garden center at top10plants.com. Throughout the week, Lisa and I can be found here at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.